spoke to us. Lord, thank you for bringing us here this morning. Thank you for allowing us to use our voices to praise you and to worship you and to give you all the honor and glory that you're due. Thank you for the talented folks we have in our church who give of their time and energy to share their talents with us. Lord, I pray that you would be with us this morning as we open your word, that you would help us to be your people who do your work, who love and show your kindness to everyone we meet. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So today's message is called Finding Your Place and Purpose in God's Family. Being at home in God's family means discovering your God-given place and living out your purpose through the gifts he's given you. Every healthy family knows this truth. Everyone belongs and everyone contributes. At a dinner table, not everyone does the same thing, but everyone matters. Some cook, some serve, some listen, some encourage, and some clean up. At our house, I do the majority of the cooking. But I hate cleaning up. I hate it. I don't know why. But as I'm cooking, the other day, this was a disaster. The other day I decided I was going to make chorizo hamburger smash burgers with homemade French fries. Sounds good, right? So I get out my little kitchen preparation gloves because I don't like to touch raw meat. And so I get out the chorizo. Am I saying it right? Chorizo. All right. And the burger, and I'm mixing them together, and the chorizo is a little bit stickier, and so my gloves are coming off, and I'm like, and so I'm like pulling them back up, trying not to touch my wrist with my meaty fingers because of the gloves, and I get it all mixed together, and then I try to patty it out, and that's not working, so I kind of just plop a ball of meat into the pan, and I smush it down, and I let it cook, and I let it cook, and then I go to flip it over, and it all falls apart. So instead of chorizo hamburger smash burgers, we had deconstructed chorizo hamburger smash burgers. So I took all that crumbly meat and put it in the bowl and put out lettuce and cheese and all the other things and pretended that was the original idea. And then sat there sulking that it didn't work out the way I wanted to. Because one of my areas, just this is a little aside, this isn't really part of the message. One of my love languages is words of affirmation. And I want my family to say, "Oh, Dad, this meal is so good. Please make this again." So I always say, "So how was it?" And you know what I get? It was all right. That does not scratch the desire for, "Oh, Dad, this is amazing." Now, there are times when I do have successful dinners, but that one. Anyway, so I do the cooking. I do not like to clean up. Oh, that's where that story was going, the cleanup part. Ooh, ADD medicine hasn't kicked in yet. So anyway, while I'm cooking all this sticky meat, and it's like getting all over the place, and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm going to have to clean this up." And then I got asked to do something else and go somewhere, so I didn't have to clean it up, and I was like, yes! But we all have responsibilities. In our family, everyone has a job. Empty the dishwasher. Take out the trash. Take out the recycle. Clean up your room. Do whatever. Wash the car. Everyone has responsibilities. And by working together, our household, for the most part, runs relatively smoothly. So if in our series, if week 1 was belonging, and week 2 was believing, and week 3 was living together, then week 4 today is how you fit. Not comparison, not competition, not pressure, a purpose. My first point this morning was that God created you with intention and purpose. You are not here randomly. You are not an extra piece. You are not filling space. This morning in Sunday school, talking about putting things together but not following the directions and always having pieces left over. That happens to me. Actually, usually when I build something, I get it most of the way built and then realize that I put a piece in backwards. So I have to take it halfway back apart so I can flip that piece around so the rest will fit together. But God has given you a place that you and only you fit in this family of God. You are not an extra piece. You are not just a leftover. God has you here for a purpose. And being a head to count is not that purpose. Like, we do count, but your purpose isn't, well, if I go to church today, maybe they'll get to 65. I'm 65. That's not a job, being 65. It's an age, but it's not a job. Look with me at Psalm 139. For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. When you were being weaved together, when you were growing in your mother's womb, even before your mother knew she was pregnant, God was working on you. He was putting you together. He has given you a purpose and a mission. And it's a thing that only you can do. In a way that only you can do it. Walter's done a lot around our church in a way that only Walter could do it. People can try to take over some of the responsibilities, but they won't do it in the way that Walter did it because they're not Walter. There have been pastors here before me who pastored this church and probably pastored it well, but I can't pastor the way they pastored because I'm not them. I watch guys online or listen to them on the radio preach, and I think to myself, man, I wish I could preach like that. Man, I wish I could deliver a message that just hits home like that. But God didn't create me like that. He created me like this. I'm sure much to your disappointment often. But He made me like this. This is who I am. This is all I can be. But I have to understand that God created me this way for this purpose, and I have to faithfully do what He's called me to do, even in my own imperfection. Because God does not call qualified people to do the job that He has for them. He qualifies the broken people that He's called. My next series, starting next Sunday, is called Messy Faith. And it's about how God meets us in our chaos and works in us and helps us to serve Him and live for Him in the middle of our chaos. You have a purpose. God did not accidentally make you. Your parents might have said, oh, we weren't expecting you. You were an accident. But God knew. God had a plan. Before the beginning of time, God knew you and knew what He wanted you to do, how you are part of His intricate plan. Have any of you ever seen a Rube Goldberg machine? Have any of you ever heard of a Rube Goldberg machine? I bet you've all seen one. You just don't know that it's called a Rube Goldberg machine. Have you ever played the game Mousetrap? Do you remember that old game Mousetrap? Well, that thing that you build during Mousetrap is a Rube Goldberg machine. They're silly things that are put together, designed to go from one end to the other in a weird way. You know, where the ball goes doot, 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 and drops, and then it makes another little thing sit down and kicks the football, and the football hits the target, and the target pops down, and the little car goes over here, and then it goes under, and there's a match, and it strikes a match, and then the match burns through the wire. You guys get what I'm talking about, right? All seen those? Okay. That's a Rube Goldberg machine. You could look at that Rube Goldberg machine and be like, what is that? Why is that there? But then when the machine is set off, you're like, oh, that's what that's there for. And if you take that little car that strikes the striker that lights the match away, then the whole machine breaks down. It just doesn't work because that one little piece wasn't there. You are that piece. God shaped your personality, He shaped your experiences, and He shaped your gifts. And He did so knowing exactly where He wanted you to serve. Imagine this. Before the dawn of time, God knew that I was going to be a pastor at Lakeland Baptist Church. Of all the things in all the universe that God knows, He knew that I would be here at this time. And He knew that you would be here at this time too. And He knew what your job would be, and He knew what your gifts would be, and He knew what your talents would be, and He planned it all out before the dawn of time. Does that not just make you go, your mind explode? The God who created the universe, who created the mountains and the valleys and all the beautiful things we see, the stars in the sky, the sand on the beach, had a plan for you before time began. My second point is that God gives every believer spiritual gifts. When you came to Christ, God didn't just save you, He equipped you. It's like when someone joins the military. Now, I've never been in the military. I've been in the Lord's army, but I've never been in the military. But I've seen enough movies and known enough people that when you go to the military, they basically take everything that you have and give you new stuff. They give you a new haircut. They give you different clothes. They give you a different place to sleep. They give you different socks, different underwear, different shoes, a different belt. They equip you with what you need to serve in your position in that place, in that army, or in the Air Force, or I guess in the Air Force they just give you a chair. But those of you who get that, got that. No offense, Air Force friends. But they equip you with what you need to do your job. The same is true in most jobs, except for being a teacher. They don't equip you with the things you need to teach. In teaching, you have to buy them yourselves. Yes, I said it out loud. But most jobs, if you're a plumber, they will give you the tools and the stuff you need, the PVC pipe to take on your truck to go to your place. If you work on the phones, they'll give you cable and little spiky things to climb the poles. God has equipped you to do the job that He wants you to do. A few weeks ago on Facebook, I shared a link to an online spiritual gift survey. It's like 184 questions that you can go through, and it'll say, do you prefer this or this? And then at the end of answering all those questions, it will give you what your spiritual giftedness is. I'll share the link again this week on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, ask somebody who is on Facebook to find it for you and put it in the little computer thingy, and maybe you can take it. If you don't want to, no pressure. It's not homework. But it will edify you and help you understand where God might have equipped you to serve. One of my wife's gifts is generosity. She's so generous. She wants to help people in any way she can. Maybe it's been a year or two. A few years ago, she heard about a family whose house burned down, and they had a disabled child, and their disability van had been in the garage, and it was destroyed by the fire. We did not know these people. And she said, we should let them borrow our van because we don't use it that much. Let's give our $20,000 vehicle to some people we don't know so that they can be blessed and be able to take their child where they need to go. We didn't even know them. But because we're in the disability community, it wasn't hard to find them. And we loaned them the vehicle. And they were blessed by it until they could get a new disability vehicle. And then they gave it back to us. And it was full of gas. And it had a $100 bill in it. But we didn't do it for the tank of gas and the $100 bill. We did it because God gave Christy the gift of generosity. I guess it wasn't last month, in December, we had a steak dinner. I like steak. I'd like to eat a steak. I liked eating that steak. When I came here, there were people who were outside in December cooking steaks. And when I came inside, there were tables with plates and napkins and tablecloths, and there was food set out, and there were drinks available. That didn't just happen. Those are people who have been equipped with the gift of hospitality and service, who came before we showed up and set all that stuff up. That hospitality is a spiritual gift. There are people who have mercy as a gift, and they go visit people who are sick, and they pray for people who are sick, and they care about people's emotional and physical and spiritual needs. These are all gifts that God has equipped you to serve the body of Christ and the lost world, to help them see and be attracted to being a part of God's family. In 1 Corinthians 12:7 it says, "To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good." Spiritual gifts are not for our personal status. I have the gift of teaching and evangelism. You're probably sitting there going, do you really though? God gave me a gift, and I can use it or I can't. And let me tell you something. I tried not to be a pastor. I really tried. And it wrecked my life. Because like Jonah, I was running away from what God had asked me to do, and he was like, let's redirect you. And so the way I was going resulted in a complete and total destruction of my life. And I finally had to be like, okay, God, I surrender. I'll do what you want me to do. And it was a slow going back to what he called me to do and getting there. And now it's the only thing I really want to do is to be a pastor. And God has given you a gift. Teaching, serving, encouraging, giving, leading, showing mercy, helping. We have different gifts. We have the same Spirit. We're one family. There are people in my family who are gifted to play basketball. I am not. I know the term box out, but I don't really know what it means. Like, I've been to hundreds of basketball games, and I've never seen a box. There was a time when our daughter Kara was playing basketball, and her team was losing, and Christy was encouraging their coach to switch their playing tactics. And I don't remember whether they were playing zone and she thought they should be playing man-to-man, or they were playing man-to-man and she thought they should be playing zone. I don't remember, because honestly, I don't really know what either one of those things mean. I mean, I kind of do. I think man-to-man is like when you are like, you stay with the same person no matter where they go. And zone is like you stay in a general area, and whoever comes in your area, you try to defend against them. Is that basically right? Finally, 20-some years later, which one were they doing? They were playing man-to-man, and the other team was too fast, and they needed to go to zone. And she was strongly encouraging the coach to make that switch. I mean, strongly encouraging it. And there was a woman behind us who's like, she's doing the best she can. To which Christy replied, no, she's not, because if she was, she'd switch them to zone. And she wasn't wrong. Well, after she did it, after the game, the coach came up to the woman behind us and was like, hi, Mom. Fun times, fun times. But the point is, Christy knows basketball, I don't. But that doesn't mean that we can't be a family and we can't raise kids who play basketball. I have a job, she has a job, you have a job. My third point this morning is that every gift has a place at the table. No gift is wasted and no role is insignificant. No role is insignificant. Did you know that after the steak dinner, there were dirty dishes? And the people who set up, many of them also tore down and washed those dishes. Can you imagine what would have happened if all those dishes had just been left dirty? Well, we would have come in next time and been like, who left all these dirty dishes? Well, it's not my job to do the dishes. But if the dishes don't get done, then I'm going to see it, and I'm going to notice it, and I'm probably going to say something. What I really should do is just go do the dishes. But your job, even if it's washing dishes or sponging or swabbing a toilet or driving a group of people who are going on a mission trip to an airport, no job is insignificant. Remember, God planned for you to do it before time began. In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 18, it says, but as it is, God arranged the members of the body, each one of them as he chose. The church doesn't work when everyone tries to do the same thing. It works when everyone does their part. I can't preach on Sunday and teach Sunday school class. I couldn't teach all the Sunday school classes that this church needs at the same time. I can't be the youth leader, the senior adult leader, the worship leader, the custodian, the building and grounds person. I can't. I'm not physically capable. Like the HVAC system, I know it's either broken or it works. Like when something breaks at my house, I have to get someone to fix it. I have a home warranty on my house. Well, what do you got a home warranty for, Phil? You should just be able to fix it yourself. I can't. When I was growing up, my dad said, do what you do and do it well and pay other people to do what they do well. So I do. People who know HVAC can come to my house and look at the thing and say, oh, this is the problem. Bada bing, bada boom, give me my money. If I try to do it, I'd be like, let me try this, break it. Let me try this, break it. And now I need a whole new HVAC system. Because I can't do that job because it's not my job. God didn't equip me to do that job. The same is true in the church. You don't want me to try to be the worship leader. You don't want me to try to be the person who cooks meals. Because I fail oftentimes. And you would be having deconstructed whatever. God has called you and given you a purpose. Number 4, you discover your fit by faithful participation. Most people don't discover what their work and their job in the church is because they never try. Pew sitter is not a spiritual gift. I have an idea to write a book this is, again, ADD, called Hugh the Pew Potato. And it's about this guy who just thinks that his job is to sit in the pew every week and listen. His kids are called the Tater Tots, by the way. Hugh Tater and his kids, the Tater Tots. Don't steal that idea. You ever, this is going back to the I don't like to clean up. You ever use a dish towel to like dry things off or wipe things down and it just kind of sits by the sink for a while? Gets wet, dries out, gets wet, dries out. After a while, it starts to get a little fragrant, if we can use that word. Why? Because it's just sitting there absorbing all the stuff, but it's not really ever doing anything else. Just being a pew sitter is like being a stinky dish rag. You've got to be used for the purpose. And then if you're a dish rag that's used for its purpose, washing out, wiping off dishes, wiping off counters, eventually your owner will see you're dirty and you will put you through the laundry and then you can be clean again. If you do the job that God's called you to do, God will work in you and through you to do the things that He's called you, and you'll be renewed and revived. Will it always be easy? No. But God has called you for a purpose. Can you imagine if your nose went on strike? Well, if you've had COVID, you probably can. Or your taste buds. That was the weirdest thing when I got COVID, losing my sense of smell and my sense of taste. I was like, did I really lose my sense of taste? And I ate something spicy, and I did. My stomach didn't lose its sense of what spicy stuff does to my stomach, but I didn't taste it. I took some cologne and sprayed it on my wrist, and I'm like, smelled nothing. My mouth and my nose weren't doing their jobs. My mouth and my nose are supposed to work together to tell me that's nasty. I could have drinking. I could have ingested nasty, chunky milk and not smelled it or tasted it. That's not healthy. But that's what happens when people who have a job don't do their job. Things break down. In 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10, it says, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another so as good stewards of God's very grace. Your fit in the family becomes clearer when you show up. You ever heard that phrase, 90% of life is just showing up? If you show up, you've done the majority of the work. You serve, you stay faithful, you remain teachable. God reveals calling while we're moving, while we're doing things. There's a guy at my last church who his kids started coming to the church because they liked our youth group. And then he and his wife were like, oh, well, let's go to church with them on Sunday. And he came to church on Sunday. And he saw that we had a need for people on our worship team, so he started singing on our worship team. And then he felt like God might be calling him to get more education in Bible. And then he felt like God might be calling him to plant a church. And right now, well, I don't know if it's right now, but chances are he is at the church where we were, listening to the message. He's preached at that church before. He's an elder at that church, and he's going to seminary because he believes that God is calling him to be in vocational ministry. Had he not come to church and just been present, he could have missed out on that call. Being present, serving, trying things out. Maybe you think you want to be on building and grounds because you know how to fix stuff. And maybe you go to a couple meetings and you try to do it and you're like, yeah, this isn't for me. Okay. Maybe you want to sing on the worship team. And then maybe you discover that's not for you. Okay. Let's help you find your area. This isn't a, church should not be a, oh, you need to teach 5th grade boys because we need a 5th grade boys Sunday school teacher. You should serve where God has created and equipped you to serve. And that's what I want our church to be. A place where we're all serving together, living out Christianity together as a family, as a body, serving where we've been equipped to serve. Point 5. I've never had point 5 before, so be excited. Serving God is not about guilt. It is about joy. Romans chapter 12 says, "For as in one body we have many members, so we, though many, are one body in Christ." Serving should not be about guilt. You know, if you don't do this, there's nobody who will do it, and then it won't get done. Now serve the Lord with gladness. You know, if you don't clean the bathrooms, then the bathrooms aren't going to get cleaned. Did you know that when I was 19 years old, I got fired from being a custodian? Because I'm not good at it. It does not bring me joy. But there are people, I know people personally, who love to clean houses. Can you imagine people who get joy by cleaning houses? Weird. When we lived in Maryland, I loved when my mother-in-law came over because she would always do the dishes. I don't know if she loves doing dishes, but she would. And that was an area that she served our family. She didn't come over nearly enough. But when God has called you to do something, and you're serving in the area where God has called you to serve, you will be joyful. Not all the time. But there is a joy in serving God. You can see when Jay and Janet and the people on the praise team are up here, you can tell that they are enjoying serving God in the area that He's called them to serve. They come in during the week to make sure stuff is ready. They come early, they stay late because they're serving with joy. We have people who work with our youth. And listen, if God doesn't call you to work with youth, it's miserable. But when He's called you to do it, you find great joy in it. I got to lead the youth group on Wednesday night. I used to be a youth pastor. I thought it was fun. They probably were bored out of their minds, but I thought it was fun. If God has called you to it, He will give you joy in doing it. When everyone lives in their God-given purpose, the family is healthier, the load is lighter, and the joy is deeper. This is how God designed His family to work. So what do? First thing is figure out what has God given you to do. What is God's gift to you? How has He equipped you? Even if you're not doing it, you've probably thought about it. Oh, I wonder what it would be like to be a deacon. I wonder what it would be like to teach Sunday school. I wonder what it would be like to mow the lawn at the church, or whatever the thing is. God has probably given you an idea of what you should do. So, take the first step. Well, we don't have a juggling ministry at the church. You're right, we don't. But if God has called you and gifted you to be a juggler, you guys know what juggler is, all right. You can use the gift of juggling to reach people for Christ. No matter what you do, no matter where you are, God has given you an ability to serve him in some way. I've said it before. I would love for us to have ministries where people do what they love and talk about Christ while they do it. I want to learn how to hunt. I've been hunting a couple times, but I just basically sat there with a gun and froze to death. Well, that's hunting, Pastor Phil. Yeah, probably. But how awesome would it be for you, if you love to hunt, to be able to take someone who wants to learn how to hunt, and while you're teaching them how to hunt, you talk about how God is hunting for them, to pursue them. God has gifted you to do something. You can take that gift and use it. And there's probably a way we can use it in the church. Where might God be calling you to serve? God might be calling you to serve somewhere else. Maybe God will call you into ministry and you'll go plant a church somewhere else. Maybe God's working in your heart and you have a passion for people in South America or people in Africa or people in Europe or people in Asia. And God may eventually call you to go and serve those people in that area. When I was at the Baptist Convention in November, they commissioned 22 missionaries who were all going internationally to serve as missionaries. That's obedience. That's people using a gift they've been given and going and following God. So what step can you take to live out this call, to live out your purpose, to live out what God's called you to do? Some of you belong to the family, but you haven't stepped into your purpose. Some of you wonder if you still matter. Listen, if you don't not wake up in the morning, that means if you are still breathing, if your heart is still pumping, even if you have a little thing attached to your heart that goes when your heart stops to doing it right, you are still of service to God. Well, Pastor Phil, I can't do what I used to. Okay, I can't either. I can't sit on the floor with my legs crossed for more than like a minute before my legs go numb. Whenever I try to get up off the floor, I have to pray. Oh, dear Lord, help me. But that doesn't mean you can't pray. It doesn't mean you can't give. It doesn't mean you can't encourage. I was reminded this week how much just a phone call can do to encourage someone. How many people have a phone? Most of us have them just like right there in our pocket or in our hand. If you're breathing, God can use you. You matter. There's a seat for you. You are not the extra piece that's just there. Find your place. Let's pray. God, thank you for loving us. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for equipping us to do what you've called us to do. I pray that you give us the courage to do it. Help us be the people you want us to be, to go where you want us to go, to say what you want us to say, to just be willing to put up our hands and say, here I am.